Our congressional panel is here. Nikole Killion and Andrew Desiderio. They join us. Nikole is a CBS News congressional correspondent. Andrew is a senior congressional correspondent for Punchbowl News. Great to have you both here. We've been following this congressional report on former President Donald Trump and how foreign countries, when they were in Washington or in the United States, spent money on Trump properties. Tell us, what is this report and what's in it?
So this is a new staff report from the House Oversight Committee Democrats. And basically, this culminates a years-long investigation, about 7 years to be more precise, that found that the former president received some $7.8 million from a variety of foreign governments, from China, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and others. In fact, they say much of that money came from China, some $5.5 million money that went to, for instance, some of the former president's properties, the Trump Hotel here in Washington, in Las Vegas, and other venues. And they say that this is just a snapshot of the amount of money that potentially the former president received, that this potentially was a violation of the Foreign Emoluments Clause in the Constitution, which bars a leader like the president from receiving foreign payments. So in terms of these findings, the main objective of committee Democrats is they simply want to see legislative reforms behind this, but they do feel that the former president was in violation of this clause.
Andrew, you track congressional leadership, especially the Republicans who run the House of Representatives. Will they follow up on any of these reports' findings and policy recommendations?
I'd say it's highly unlikely, and I think a lot of this stems from what House Democrats did when they were in the majority under the Trump presidency, right? When they led all of these investigations into the former president. Emoluments was a big issue for their investigation of corruption allegations into the former president, the then president at the time. And part of this is also aimed at combating some of these allegations that Republicans are making, similar allegations about President Biden as part of their impeachment inquiry into the current president. So I'd say it's definitely highly unlikely that Republicans will follow up on this specific line of questioning here, and I think it's more some posturing by both sides.
So maybe not some follow-up, but it's just an intriguing report to see all of that compiled, all of that data, all of that information. I would like to get both of your takes on Speaker Mike Johnson and his trip to the border. Is that going to jumpstart talks about border security and maybe a deal on Ukraine and Israel as well and government funding? Or is this more of a standoff? Nikole?
I was going to say, in a perfect world, yes to your initial question, but I think the reality is the sides still are very far apart. And I think a key reason for that is that Speaker Johnson isn't even at the table. He told our Margaret Brennan that he's not even really read in on this process. We have seen these border negotiations primarily being handled by Secretary Mayorkas and between Senate Democrats and Republicans. And we also know that Speaker Johnson really used that opportunity to hammer home the importance in House Republicans' view to push H.R. 2, which is the hardline immigration bill that they passed last year. But that is a non-starter for Democrats, particularly not only in the House, but also in the Senate, as a non-starter as far as these negotiations are concerned. So it really begs the question, how can the ball be moved forward if both sides seem to be talking past each other?
You agree with that, or?
Yeah, I think, going to the border was largely a political exercise. He's trying to highlight the issue and make sure that, the Senate negotiators know that the House isn't just going to rubber stamp whatever the Senate and the White House come up with, if they come up with anything. This week, what the negotiators on the Senate side have been saying is that they hope to have some sort of framework, something to be able to read out to senators when they do return to Washington next week. But that is far from certain at this point. And Speaker Johnson is maintaining the hard line that it has to be H.R. 2 or nothing. H.R. 2, of course, that House Republican border security bill, non-starter for Democrats, non-starter for the White House. So basically, you have this situation where the Senate and the White House are working toward a bipartisan product, trying to get 60 votes in the Senate, something that can get the president's signature, whereas the House is focused on a more partisan path here that really, if you're trying to get something done to resolve the issue, will not get a result.
And very quickly, Andrew, do you believe Secretary Mayorkas, the DHS secretary, will be impeached by House Republicans based on your reporting?
It seems like they're on track to do that. They're going to start having hearings on this. It's kind of like, the idea of putting the toothpaste back in the tube. Once you start the process, you can't really stop it. And Republicans are really furious with the Homeland Security Secretary over the conditions at the southern border. Personally, I don't see a scenario in which they just pump the brakes on that impeachment effort. Obviously, this would be kicked over to the Senate, and the Senate would likely dispose of it very quickly.
Nikole, what are your thoughts on that? But as well, also, we began the show talking about this horrific shooting in Iowa. Are there any discussions about gun control among your sources on Capitol Hill?
Oh, well, just quickly, with respect to the issue of Secretary Mayorkas, of course, he tried to play down these impeachment proceedings that are expected to start next week in the House Homeland Security Committee, saying, he's not really going to focus on the politics and political rhetoric, but really wants to kind of focus on these border negotiations. I mean, gun control, look, this is an issue that we time and again after each major mass shooting or incidents like what we saw in Iowa, there are all these drum beats for more around the issue of gun control. But again, I think given the dynamics that we just discussed, not only on immigration, but whether it's government funding, whether it's now gun control, it's very hard to see much movement on this issue beyond just, talking points about the need to do something.
Yeah, I mean, 2 years ago, you had the Safer Communities Act, which was a fairly major bipartisan undertaking on gun reform in the context of the fact that Congress doesn't usually take bipartisan action on this issue and has failed to really over many, many decades. The conditions for that, the political conditions for that were ripe because you had a Democratic House, you had a Democratic Senate, and of course, a Democratic president as well. And in the Senate, where you need 60 votes to get anything done, you had a lot of Republicans that were willing to negotiate and work together to try to get something done. So the political conditions, the landscape was favorable for something like that. Right now, the conditions are simply unfavorable.
Highly unlikely, it seems, in almost everything. Highly unlikely. Nikole Killion, Andrew Desiderio, thank you so much for being here.